Ever wonder if ancient Greek theatre was as polite as modern Broadway? Think again. From flying vegetables to actual riots, Greek audiences weren't afraid to express their displeasure. Let's explore the chaotic side of classical theatre. When ancient Greeks went to the theatre, they weren't just passive spectators. They were more like sports fans at a championship game. The audience would shout, cheer, and even throw food when they didn't like the performance. Imagine sitting in a massive outdoor theatre with 15,000 other people, all ready to express their opinions very loudly. They'd stamp their feet on the wooden benches to show approval, creating a thunderous sound that echoed through the amphitheatre. But when they didn't like what they saw, that's when things got really interesting. Figs, olives, and even stones would rain down on unfortunate actors who didn't meet the crowd's standards. Talk about tough critics. These passionate reactions were actually taken quite seriously by playwrights and actors, who knew their success, and sometimes their safety, depended on keeping the crowd happy. The consequences of disappointing an ancient Greek audience could be seriously dangerous for performers. Take the famous case of actor Aeschines, who was pelted so hard with figs and stones that he actually had to flee the stage. But that's not even the worst of it. Historical records tell us about actors being chased through the streets of Athens after particularly bad performances. Some performers even faced public humiliation, with audiences following them home while shouting insults. The theatre was so important to Greek society that a poor performance was seen as an insult to the entire community. Even the great Demosthenes once faced such hostile crowds that he had to disguise himself to escape the theatre safely. These incidents weren't just embarrassing. They could end careers and damage reputations permanently. With such passionate audiences, Greek theatres had to develop some creative security measures. Guards called rhabdouchoi patrolled the aisles with long sticks, ready to maintain order if things got too heated. These ancient security officers had the power to remove rowdy spectators and confiscate any potential projectiles. Theatres also started implementing strategic seating arrangements, keeping the most excitable crowd members far from the stage. Some venues even installed protective barriers during controversial plays. Interestingly, many theatres began scheduling comedies early in the day when audiences were less likely to be drunk and aggressive. The most prestigious theatres in Athens eventually introduced a strict no-food policy, though enforcing it was another matter entirely. The Dionysian festival, Athens' biggest theatrical event, sometimes turned into absolute chaos. During one notorious performance in 416 BCE, a massive riot broke out when a tragic play about the fall of Miletus hit too close to home. The playwright was fined 1,000 drachmas, a fortune back then, for distressing the audience. But that wasn't the worst festival disaster. In 392 BCE, an entire production had to be cancelled mid-show when the wooden seating collapsed under the enthusiastic stomping of the crowd. And let's not forget the infamous frogs incident, where Aristophanes' comedy caused such uncontrollable laughter that several audience members actually fell out of their seats and tumbled down the theatre's steep steps. The festival organizers eventually had to create special rules just to prevent these theatrical disasters. The Athens theatre riot of 416 BCE stands out as one of the most dramatic audience reactions in ancient Greek theatre history. When playwright Phrynichus presented his tragedy about the Persian conquest of Miletus, he couldn't have predicted the explosive response. The audience, many of whom had family connections to Miletus, became increasingly agitated as the play progressed. What started as angry shouting quickly escalated into a full-scale riot. The crowd surged forward, forcing actors to abandon the stage. Some spectators began tearing up the wooden seating, while others rushed the performance area. The theatre guards were completely overwhelmed. By the time order was restored, significant damage had been done to the theatre, and several people were injured. The city council took unprecedented action, banning the play and fining Phrynichus for reopening public wounds. This incident led to new rules about portraying recent historical events on stage. Ancient Greek actors sometimes took their roles a bit too seriously, leading to some truly bizarre incidents. One famous case involved an actor playing Ajax who got so into character that he started attacking audience members with a wooden sword. Another memorable mishap occurred when a performer playing Hercules became convinced he actually had super strength and tried to lift a massive stone prop, injuring himself and 3 chorus members. These method acting mistakes weren't just dangerous. They often became the talk of Athens for months. Theatres eventually started requiring actors to rehearse with wooden props only, and some productions even posted guards to prevent over-enthusiastic performers from leaving the stage. The phrase "don't break character" took on a whole new meaning in ancient Greece. Theatre wasn't just entertainment in ancient Greece. It was a powerful political tool that sometimes backfired spectacularly. Playwrights who dared to critique powerful politicians often faced more than just angry reviews. In 423 BCE, Aristophanes' play The Knights caused such an uproar that supporters of the criticized politician Cleon tried to storm the stage. The theatre became a battleground between opposing political factions, with some audience members forming human shields to protect the actors while others threw stones and shouted threats. These politically charged performances were so volatile that some theatres started requiring politicians to sit in specially designated areas, far from both the stage and their opponents. The authorities even passed laws limiting how directly a play could mock living political figures. Satirical comedies in ancient Greece often walked a dangerous line between entertainment and outright provocation. When comedic playwrights like Aristophanes targeted specific citizens in their plays, the results could be explosive. One famous incident occurred when a wealthy merchant, mocked in a comedy for his unusual beard, led his slaves and supporters to disrupt the entire performance. They threw rotten food, broke benches, and even tried to set fire to the stage. These reactions became so common that theatres started posting notices warning audience members that any resemblance to real persons was purely coincidental, though everyone knew better. Some comedic actors even wore protective padding under their costumes, expecting violent responses from offended viewers. Ancient Greek theatres weren't exactly known for their safety standards, and when stage equipment failed, audiences weren't shy about expressing their displeasure. One notable incident in 385 BCE saw an entire backdrop collapse during a key scene in The Persians, sending actors tumbling into the chorus. The audience, thinking it was part of the show, initially cheered until the set pieces started falling into the front rows. This led to a chaotic scene where spectators began throwing the fallen decorations back onto the stage in protest. Another famous mishap occurred when a mechanical crane used for god appearances broke, leaving the actor playing Zeus dangling awkwardly mid-air, while the audience howled with laughter and pelted him with figs. As theatre riots became more common, ancient Greek cities developed strict rules to keep the peace. Theatres started requiring a cash deposit from audience members. You'd get it back only if you behaved. They also banned certain foods known to be popular projectiles, especially figs and olives. Guards were stationed throughout the venue, armed with special red staffs that marked their authority. Seating was carefully planned, with troublemakers from previous shows restricted to the upper sections, far from the stage. Some theatres even introduced a 3-strike rule. Get caught causing trouble 3 times, and you'd be banned for life. Interestingly, they also started scheduling more controversial plays during religious festivals when violence was considered especially taboo. Thanks for joining us on this wild journey through ancient Greek theatre's rowdiest moments. If you enjoyed learning about these theatrical chaos, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. Let us know in the comments, would you brave an ancient Greek performance?